Welcome students to another day in the foods classroom. Today we are going to be doing one of my favorite foods to eat, and perhaps yours too, and that is some pizza. We'll be making the bread dough, the pizza dough from scratch, and then we'll be putting on our favorite toppings. Previous to recording this, I have assembled all of my ingredients and I've assembled all of my equipment, and I have read through the recipe and everything makes sense to me and I am ready to go. So let's get started. We'll start first with making the pizza crust, and we're gonna make that and then we're gonna bake it so that it's sure to be cooked. It'll be baked but not brown, and then we'll put the toppings on and melt them all in. So that's kind of the deal with this particular pizza recipe. Maybe you've heard of a boboli. If you have, that's kind of the same thing that we're doing right here. I have already preheated my oven to 450 degrees, and that takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So be sure to get that going before you begin in with any of your instructions. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and place this to the side then, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab actually 2 bowls. And this is my medium-sized bowl, and in here I'm going to start with putting first off my warm water. I have warm water in here, and I'm gonna pour it in the liquid measuring cup. I'm gonna squinch down at eye level. I don't know that you can see me doing that. And then I'm going to stop at exactly 1 cup. I don't want this water to be cold or my yeast won't start to grow, and I don't want it to be hot or just like bacteria, it's gonna kill it off. I'm gonna place this inside of my medium-sized bowl, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put in some sugar. Yeast is kind of funny. It wants to have something to consume to help it to grow, and we are actually gonna be using sugar to do that. I've got my 1 teaspoon measuring spoon, and I will grab my straight edge metal spatula, and I can go 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's at the bottom. If you want to give it a quick stir, you can do that, but then I want you to back off because we're ready to take and add in the yeast. Now the yeast is sold in little tiny packets that cost maybe 50, 75 cents each, or you can buy a large container, and I'll bet you probably figured that we buy large containers, and I've just put it into this little container so it's easy to measure out. And it says that I need to have 1 tablespoon. A package is about 1 tablespoon, so you'll be good to go. I'm gonna take this, and with that straight edge of my metal spatula, I'll level this off. Now when I put it in here, I'm not gonna dump it, because if I do, it's gonna glum all together and take forever for it to dissolve out. So instead, remember this, I'm sprinkling this over the top of that water. And then my instructions say I'm gonna put it to the side and let it sit for 5 minutes. Now that's an awful long time, and we're gonna try to be patient and do that. And what I'm gonna see happening is maybe you can see all the little granulars are kind of floating, and then they sunk down to the bottom. I need to let them have time to dissolve. Otherwise I might be chunking on just a little bit of yeast, and that won't be that great. But while I'm waiting for that to happen, I can go ahead and move on to step number 3, which is to at least measure the flour and the salt. And I'm gonna put this into my small mixing bowl. And we have already discovered how you take and measure flour. And as a review, I've got 2 1/4 cups. I'm gonna stir this up. First, I'm foofing it, if that's a cooking term. Hooray for us. I'm gonna pick that up. Oops, that's not good. Did you see that? What? I'm gonna pick that up and gently put that into my dry measuring cup till it's overflowing. And then with the straight edge of that metal spatula, I'm gonna go ahead and karate chop that off. There's 1. Now, don't forget to put the second one in. Sometimes that happens in a hurry. I'm gonna go ahead and have that overflowing. And then again with that straight edge of that metal spatula, there's 2 cups. Don't forget the 1/4 cup. Make sure you're on top of that. Go ahead and have that overflowing. And again, with the straight edge of the metal spatula, you'll go ahead and karate chop that off. The flour is going to provide the structure that everything else works around. The yeast is going to make it foof as it's baking. I got a little bit of sugar, that's for a sweetener and for the food for the yeast. I'm gonna now put in a little bit of salt, and salt helps control the yeast a little bit, and of course it also is a little bit about flavor. Did you know that salt in small amounts can actually increase the natural sweetness of a food? It's true, it can. Now, when you measure the salt, I don't want any lazy measures. We're going to be exact, because if we go into the food industry and one time there's a little bit much salt, a little bit less salt, that's going to affect the clientele. And your head chef, you're the person who created that recipe, is going to want it to be exact. So we'll measure this. This is a half a teaspoon of salt, and we'll go ahead and pop that in there. Now I'm going to place this to one side. Oh, this salt right here, I'm just going to throw in the garbage can. It's cheap. Okay? I will take my spoon right here, and I'm just going to kind of mix that into that flour just a little bit. Look what's happening over here with my yeast. Can you see that? All of a sudden things are kind of settling down to the bottom. I am going to still give it a little time. So I'm going to place both of these to the side, and let's go down and see about step number 5, which is to spray the pizza pan with a nonstick cooking spray. Our pizza pans, they say they're large. I don't know anymore. To me, this looks like a medium, but depends on the pizza place you go to. And our nonstick cooking spray right here. Please be careful with this. Don't get it on your clothes. This oil will go into the fibers of your cloth, and it'll keep an oil stain on it, and it's not good. I also don't want you to spray it over the walkway, because if an overspray happens, that extra grease is going to go to the floor, makes our floor slippery slidey. So with your finger on that nonstick spray and about 10 to 12 inches away, you're going to just spray back and forth. Just one little quick spray. I shouldn't see any rivers of spray coming down. Not happening. And then we're going to go ahead and put on some cornmeal. Now you maybe, if you go to pizza parlors, are going to recognize this. And the purpose of having this cornmeal is simply because it's going to take the moisture that's found in the bottom of that bread and stop it from being soggy. Kind of like a little bit of a crust onto the bottom of our pizza. So I'm going to take my 1 teaspoon right here, and when I put this over the top, students here at school, this will be measured out for you. I'm going to just take and sprinkle this lightly over the surface of my pizza pan. That's 1 teaspoon, and here goes our 2nd teaspoon. I'm going to rotate this so I don't get the same kind of lines going on, and I'm going to put that over the bottom of my pizza dough. All right, now I think it's been approximately 5 minutes. So I'm going to go backwards now to step number 4, and I'm going to combine the 2 of these ingredients, my flour into my liquid. And of course you can see I don't want to put my liquid in my flour. That would be a mess. It'd be too full. So I'm going to put the flour into the liquid. But before I do that, I'm just going to take my wooden spoon and I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir. And I'm going to make sure that I don't have, first I can feel the sugar at the bottom, and this is turning this all just into a tan kind of a mass, I don't know. All right, when I put this in, put it in pretty carefully, otherwise you're gonna get a face full of flour and it's gonna go all over your countertop, and you're gonna go, what now? So I'll grab this wooden spoon, and at first I'm just gonna kind of gently stir this around. Gently, gently, it'll start coming together, and it's going to make a fairly sticky dough. This is going to allow us to have a little bit of rise into our pizza crust rather than a lot of flour, which would be hard for it, and we can do it pretty quick if we do it this way. All right, I'm going to go ahead then. You can see how sticky that is. I'm going to go ahead and beat this all together. I'm going to make sure that I don't have any pockets of flour. Make sure I don't have any spots where I feel like I have a lot of liquid. And you can see this is super, super sticky. That's the way it's supposed to be. Now, usually you would take a yeast spread and you would probably knead it on the countertop, but we're not doing that with this one. Again, this is a speedy one. I'm gonna grab our pizza pan back, and now we're gonna do something kind of weird. We're gonna put this pizza dough onto this pan, but I gotta spread it out. Now, obviously, that doesn't wanna spread very well because it's sticky. And I can't roll it out with a rolling pin because it's too sticky. So it's not gonna roll out itself, so I gotta do a little bit of help with it. I'm gonna grab just a regular spoon, and I'm gonna just get a little bit of shortening on it, and I'm gonna place it onto my fingers. I'm not rubbing it in like it's lotion or anything, but I'm gonna just take and put it on my fingers. But let's first get this onto the pizza pan, all right? Get that onto that pizza pan, nice and sticky. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And then we're gonna put just a little bit of this on our fingertip 1, fingertip 2, and then I'm gonna place this back down, okay? This is gonna stop that dough from sticking to me, okay? Can you kind of see I'm really kind of thick on here, and I don't have it all over everywhere, I just have it on my fingertips. And I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna start spreading it out, okay? Now you don't wanna try to spread it all at once, because if you do, you're gonna put a hole in it. And if you feel like it's starting to stick to you a little bit much, take a minute, put a little bit more on you, and then go ahead and continue on. I'm trying to get this dough to be all about the same thickness. I can feel it where it goes up and down. You can't see it, I know that, but we're gonna go ahead and have you trust me just a little bit. Again, I'm gonna take and put some more. Why don't I put my fingers in that shortening, do you think? Do you know? Is it because you would say that would be cross-contamination? And if you answered correctly with that, put a star on your forehead. Okay, I'm gonna get this all the way out to the edges. And once I have it out to the edges, and again, this is sticky. I'm moving fast and I've got that shortening on me. That's gonna help me, and I'm trying to make those edges kind of nice. If I run out of shortening on my spoon, what do you think I should do? Did you say get a new spoon and get a little bit more shortening out? That would be the correct answer. Alrighty, get that right to the edges. I'm just playing with it. And if you wanted to have a stuffed crust pizza, what you can do is take a cheese stick, like a mozzarella cheese stick, and kind of spread it in, or break it into 4 long strings, put it along the outside edge here, and roll it up and over, and you've got yourself a stuffed crust edge. All right, so after I feel like I got that all nice and even all the way around the outside edges, pretty close. Now this isn't gonna be a perfect, this is gonna be a rustic look to it, and you're okay with that. Let it be okay, because that's what is this, you don't want it to look like it got rolled out of the manufacturer plant. Okay, once you have that all done, we're gonna put it in the oven for 7 minutes. And in this class, the person who puts it in the oven is the person who takes it out of the oven. So I will go over to the oven, I will pull out the rack, open the door, step to the side, open the door, let that heat, initial blast come out. Then I'm gonna open the oven door all of the way and pull out the rack. I'll place this in the center of the oven from right to left and from top to bottom, and let it cook for 7 minutes. And again, the person who puts it in is the one who has to set the timer. And with that, I'm gonna say, see you back in a minute.